Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Two Sports Guys. We're glad you could make it this evening. We're live every Thursday night at 6 o'clock down here in our rec room. I'm Wayne Hazell, one of the sports guys.
And I'm Roydon Gunn, one of the other sports guys. We're coming at you, like you said, Wayne, from Shaw Cable. We're live here at 6 o'clock every Thursday night. You got an hour of sports before you get into your friends and Seinfeld and whatnot.
That's right.
So you start off here with the Two Sports Guys every Thursday. Looks like we're probably going to be going on location. We're hoping in a couple of weeks from now. Got some sponsors we're looking at, so hopefully we'll get out and we can get out in the public and we can do a phone-in show from a location. So look for that in the upcoming weeks, and we'll keep you posted on what's happening with that.
We've got all kinds of interesting things we're going to do, and we want to remind you the phone number is 665-3787, and we want you to call. It's pretty much an open show once again today. Phone in with your pet peeves or whatever. Give us your best shot first, because we've had lots of calls and we usually can't get to everybody, so we can't get to 2 or 3 subjects with each caller. And you have a better shot at getting on if you phone early than if you wait till the later part of the show. So
exactly, and one of the topics or themes we're going to have for tonight is we want people to phone in. We want you to pretend you're the general manager of the Los Angeles Kings.
There you go.
You're Sam McMaster right now. A lot of trade rumors happening in L.A., coming out of L.A. right now.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen pretty soon.
What's going to happen?
You be the GM. You make the trade.
Let's see how close you are.
Who can you get for Wayne? From what team? And remember, you got to think about the salary structures as well. You got a lot of money. Wayne making $8 million, possibly $11 million next year.
Yep.
Big money consideration. So take that into account. But you be the GM tonight for the LA Kings.
We're going to start the show, though, as we usually do, with a couple of local issues. First of all, the Husky volleyball team beat the Dinosaurs, and they're off to the finals.
Looks like one of the only Husky team left, I guess, on campus. One of the only team sports, anyway, going to the finals against Alberta. And congratulations, to them to get to the final, beating Calgary last weekend. Hockey team, not such a good story. On the other side, they went 3 games with Regina.
Good showing, but
tough
I'm
series,
sure they would like to have better results. But.
Right, the Friday night game, they didn't really come out all that great. They got behind early. Regina got a few goals on Calvert early, and they ended up losing 6-1, I believe. Came back the second night, showed some good goal-scoring ability. Brian Purdy, my Gordy from last week, came up with a hat-trick, natural hat-trick. So the Huskies, pretty good showing on the second night, 8-7 win, but couldn't muster a win in the last game, 4-2, and the Husky team finally going down in the third game, and now their season is finished.
I want to touch on one other subject here, the Blades. We haven't talked about them for a couple of weeks, and I noticed there was a couple articles in the paper today, which neither one I agreed with, and so I thought I'd bring it up rather than save it for an awfully later in the show. They mentioned that in both articles they hinted or outright pretty much said that the goaltending was a problem for the Blades. And my feeling is very strongly is it's not the goaltending that's a problem. Sure, they've let in the odd soft goal, but they don't play well defensively in their own end, period. The team doesn't. That's coaching. That's happened the whole year. To me, that's coaching. The other thing that was said by Lubanicki was that the other team's goalies win the odd game for them. Our goalies don't. Dennis Bassett went into Brandon several weeks ago. 109 shots in 2 games. The Blades won both those games. The only time they beat Brandon all year. If that isn't a goaltender win, I don't know what is. And then about a week later, he was first star in Swift Current. And they, obviously we didn't see the game, it was on radio, but it was felt that he'd pretty much won that game as well. So I don't buy into that. And again, I went back to a few shows ago where I said I was worried about how the Blades management and coaching staff handle some of these kids. And I'm wondering, we've had 3 goaltenders pretty much in the last year or so run out of town almost, the Hansen and both Friesens. Both Friesens are playing number 1 for other teams that have better points than the Blades have. So I just hope that they're not doing a number on these kids. It doesn't. I mean, how can that be encouraging to place all the woes basically on these kids in goal?
Well, I think what they're saying. I mean, I can see your point. I don't necessarily agree with it though, because a goaltender has to be night after night keeping his team in the games, giving them a chance to win, and stealing the odd one here or there. The weekends you're talking about against Brandon, where Bassett came in, sure he did play well for one weekend. It's a long season. There's 72 games. Night after night, you got to have one guy in there that's going to be the man. They brought Hordell in. They thought he would be the guy.
Yeah.
He got hurt early, so I don't know how much that injury is playing into.
But they get 2 or 3 shots in a row with nobody. Like the first or second goal the other night, we did the game. There was 3 shots before they backhanded it over Hordell, who was on his stomach at that point. He'd already saved 2 or 3 shots,
well,
and there was nobody in front helping him out.
Hordell, on the other hand, is a butterfly goaltender. He's going to give up lots of rebounds, so he's going to leave himself susceptible in that way. The defense were off in the corner somewhere, though. There was nobody in front. I don't think they're so much upset about the rebound goals as they are about the bad goals.
Well, I understand
about the blue line
and
shot,
there's going to be the odd
the 5-hole shot.
My other problem too is I blame management and I blame coaching for the Blades Wolves. Who decided this was going to be basically a one-line team this year? I mean, you've got a handful, 5, 6 players that get 2 shifts or less in most a period in most games. Sometimes even less than that. Sometimes the shifts aren't very long. How are these players developing? How would you like to be their parents or their agents? Seeing these kids sit night after night after night when they told Todd Warner, for example, in Florida, well, if you come back to Rhett Warner in Florida, if you come back and play with the Blades, it's better to play than to sit on the bench. And then they've got 5, 6, 7 kids sitting on the bench doing nothing. How are they developing them? And what about next year when DL and Bantam go? What have they developed for next year?
Well, I think you can look at it that way, but you can also look at what would the Blades be right now without that line. I mean, without that scoring and that potential and the numbers that those guys have put up this year, where would the Blades be? Would they even be in contention?
Well, they're not in contention as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not knocking Dale and
Well, they're in the playoffs.
Dale, not yet. It's not guaranteed. They need 3 more wins in 11 games. But Dale and
Bantam, pretty much in.
Well, I give you that. But DL and Bantam, I'm not knocking them. They're excellent hockey players. I think they're going to do very well. But they didn't make the decision. And now in the paper, this article, they said, well, we've got to back off on going for individual the points race and so on. Well, they set that up. The coaching did not build a team. They set up this idea that these guys were going to play all this ice time, and of course the points came. Now they're 11 games away. Are you going to have time to get these rookies and so on feeling comfortable about making mistakes and knowing they're going to get ice time and so on? Is Bantam and DL now going to be comfortable with 11 games to go and these scoring leaderships and that on the line, being told that we're not going to, you're going to have to sit or whatever, you're not going to get as much ice time, we're going to let those go? I mean, what's that going to do for the chemistry of the team? They haven't built a team concept this year anyway, so you might as well go with what you got.
Well, I think they went with the line because they were winning. And like Gary Peters said last week on the show, you go with what works. And that line was working. And at 10 games ago, they were sitting in a pretty good position. They haven't been scoring as many goals lately. They have tried to get some production out of their second line.
I think they burn them out or come close. And I noticed in the paper today, Clark said that's nonsense, that Messier does, plays that kind of time too. But we're talking these kids, the road travel, bus travel, so on. There's a lot of factors involved, school times and so on for some of these kids. I don't think that the concept has been good from the start, and I put it basically on the management and coach's shoulders.
All right, well, we'll
going around and around.
We'll see if we have any comments on that. And we'll talk to Colin. Go ahead, Colin. You're on the Two Sports Guys.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the Huskies and what's the problem? You think it's Dave Adolph or how come they're bad every year? What's going on there? You think Adolph's that bad?
Well, I think they improved this year. I mean, they did have a couple of tough seasons. I think they had some goaltending trouble 2-3 years ago. This year, I mean, they flirted with 500 for the first time in about 3 or 4 years. I don't know what the problem is there. I mean, they do have some talent. They should be able to do a little better than they are.
Well, they did have a better season than they've had in the last several years. So
there was
maybe
some encouragement there, and they did have
yeah.
some young players coming in there.
What do you feel the problem is, Colin?
I think it's Dave Adolph. From what I've talked, I know a few players, and they all think he's not a very good coach. And if they can get rid of him and get a new guy in, I think they'll jump into the upper echelon of the league.
But when you say not a very good coach, that's quite a general statement. Is there some specifics involved, or just you don't feel?
I don't think he relates to the players very well. I think a lot of the players were getting a lot of money this year. There's complaints that other teams are getting scholarships, but this year I think a lot of the players got money. So I don't know why they're not winning. Like it's not a money problem like they say.
Well, I don't really have the facts on that, but you're obviously more in touch with that end of it. We obviously just get a chance to look at it from a fan's.
Yeah, I don't know
distance.
exactly what money changed hands this year as far as scholarships go. It used to be half the team got them, and then there was about 5 guys that got them. So
and there was an article early in the year that was tough to get them at all. So
yeah,
we're not sure about that call.
Well, we'll see if we had any more calls on that call, and thanks for the call.
No problem.
Go ahead, Jim. You're on the Two Sports Guys.
How you doing today, Roydon? I really like your hair. You're looking good there.
Thanks, Jim. Well, you got a question for us or a comment?
I sure do. I was just listening. Actually, I was going to talk about the Sam McMaster situation. LA Kings.
All right.
You guys have commented on that, but
Okay.
yeah, you open a big can of worms there with the Huskies. You talk about their goaltending is really poor over the last couple of years, and they really have no solidified goaltender there. You know, they talk about Jeff Calvert being the guy, but you know, you let in some pretty weak goals last week. I was watching the highlights. What do you think about that?
Well, I think with Calvert coming in last year halfway through, I mean, it was a tough situation. They were already out of the playoffs. The year before, they had some young guys that they were trying to break in. That's a tough league to play goal in. I've been there. I've seen it. It's better than the Western Hockey League, or tougher than the Western Hockey League because you don't have very many games to work with. So it's pressure every weekend to play. Calvert came in, did a pretty good job last year. Laycock stepped in and did a great job this year as well. So between the two of those guys this year, I think the goaltending was pretty solid.
Yeah, I know. I noticed one thing too, like the goaltending a few years ago with McEwen there with Mike Lang was really sharp, and I think Dave Adolph really psychologically wore him down. And you know, you talked about earlier in the show how the Blades were blaming their goaltending, and
Right.
I think Adolph a couple times in the paper back in '93 really took a lot of shots at Mike Lang, and he quit. And from then, their goaltending really just snowballed, and then they had a lot of guys come in like Belafontaine, who he carried the ball halfway there too, and he kind of quit after the goaltending were saved. There's also Steve Tanzoni that was kicking around there also. So, you know, the Blades are now going after, and they're now blaming their goaltending situation. Where Dennis Bassett, you know, unbelievable, like you said earlier in the show, Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, 109 saves, and Brandon, the kid's not even getting credit for that. Like, this kid is the goaltender of the future for the Blades, and they really got to work with him and
Build him up.
make him fall apart now.
I don't think it was so much Bassett they were going after, or
Well, they were before they got Hordell.
In general, for the year, I think was
Yeah.
the opinion of the team, without having Gordon there for the year.
That's true. That Gordon, actually, I just saw him last weekend down at St. John in New Brunswick. He's a great goaltender. He's going to be well. He's going to have a good pro career, I think.
All right, thanks
Thanks
for
a
the
lot,
call.
Jim.
Hey, no problem, dude.
Bye now.
Well, let Warren Allen here. We'll probably go to a clip after we talk to Greg here and get
Go
that
ahead,
first.
Greg. You're on.
Yeah, what do you think of the Mo Vaughn signing there?
Well,
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Be honest with you, not too much. It sounded like he was looking at 4.5 mil a year over 3 seasons. He pouted about it. He said that was a shot in the back. And then the team turned around and said, "Okay, well, we'll give you 6 then."
And the part that I find amusing is that they've got to come up with a coach to teach them how to act better, behave better in public.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
wild.
I just find that Mo Vaughn, is he going to be there in 3 years? Produce every year like he did last year? I just can't see it. I think last year was just an unbelievable year, and he's just not going to have the year like that again. And also, second question, do you remember Brian Taylor, the signing for the Yankees? Black lefty? What happened to him?
Don't
I
remember
haven't
him.
heard anything about
He
him.
was #1 draft pick in '89.
Oh,
right.
man.
What happened to the guy?
I haven't heard.
Well,
I'm a big
you know,
Yankee fan, and I just don't know what happened to him. I can't find him in any of the minor league lineups at all.
well, you know what happens with a lot of draft players, draftees. They just don't pan out, and there's a lot of reasons why they don't pan out. And if you can't find him, he's probably back home playing ball back on the sandlot or whatever. Because you know, it's just not a guarantee if you're picked high that you're going to work out.
Thanks for the call, Greg.
You bet.
Yeah, we're going to head off to our break pack, our video, some video clips here of hockey, and as Roydon mentioned, give some calls maybe on what you would do with if you were general manager of the Los Angeles Kings. So let's take a look at that video package now and see if we can get some calls. Here we're looking at Richter, who's came in first time in 6 weeks.
Unfortunately for him, another injury. Not on that play, but a play similar to the first injury that he got.
Here's Nedved
Moving
coming
to
in
his left.
right here.
He does tend to stretch a lot when he makes his saves. He goes down hard, and if your groin's not 100% strong, you're going to pull it.
And he's out again indefinitely with that. Now here's Trevor Kidd making a few good stops for Calgary against Montreal here on the weekend.
Trevor Kidd's had a good month. He's really revived that team. Calgary's come a long way in the last month.
Now the Kings made a trade. They made a trade for Zmolek, and they traded Sidor for
Interesting
Zmolek
trade.
and for Churla.
Gave up Sidor, who was a #1 pick. They were tired of waiting for him to develop, and they went for some toughness, got Churla and Smolis.
So we'll see if that'll get them to the Stanley Cup. There's Fleury with a nice goal.
Fleury's had a great
And
month.
Nelson Emerson, look at the speed here. He just pulled right away. Nice
There's
goal.
those new Vancouver Canucks jerseys.
And Hartford's playing really well. Now here's the hit of the week. And we've got Tamer hitting Warner. And Tamer in this particular game has a broken jaw. So that's why he's wearing that weird helmet. It gets popped off.
Good solid hit, stepped into him clean. Everybody had their hands down, their sticks down, and nice hit.
Another one. You don't often see the glass break like that. Now, the goaltenders sometimes get help. Here's Shell Samuelson. And in this case, not necessarily a player.
But the goaltender's best friend.
The goaltender's best friend just sits right there.
Dallas could have used a little more of that this year.
And then you have Stevens playing against Boston in his first time against them. And
Kevin Stevens, my draft dud, finally got a goal. Here it
right
is.
Here, Rain practically put it in the goal for him.
Yip-de-doo-dah, he's got 1 goal. Way to go, Kevin. 2.6 mil.
He's helping your draft.
Yeah, he's really helping. Him and Yari from the Kings are really lighting it up. Way to go, guys.
Okay. Well, like we say, we saw a couple of the guys that LA traded for. We're asking you what you think you would do, and I don't know if that's going to help them to the Stanley Cup, but they certainly felt they needed some toughness, so they got that.
Let's see if Dave has a comment on this. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Hi, Gunner. Good. I'm doing good, but I don't have a TV. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, the theme of the night is you're Sam McMaster of the Los Angeles Kings, and you're sitting on Wayne Gretzky right now with the phone lines ringing. What do you do?
I'd fire Rogie Vachon 10 years ago.
Well,
that's what I do.
Yeah, but you got to do it right now. What are you doing now?
Okay, Rogie's gone. Never mind.
Rogie's gone. You fired
What about
Rogie.
Wayne? Where does he go? Who does he get traded for, if he does? And what team does he go to?
Well, I like the New York deal, but I think Wayne's a little greedy. $10 million, I would have jumped. Him and Yari and Mess could be back together.
So you think Yari will go with him as well in a package?
The rumor I heard was that Wayne didn't get enough money. I didn't hear anything about Yari. I thought Wayne was the sticking point, but
so who do the Rangers give up? Do you like the Robitaille Ferraro situation?
I think it would help LA a lot. You know, I think Robitaille was great, and the other kid's young and he can score.
Well, he's not necessarily that young. I think Ferraro's probably 29.
Ferraro, the son,
30, at least 30 anyway.
Yeah, he's
the other guy, not Ferraro.
Robitaille.
No. I heard it was Robitaille and Sundstrom or whatever.
Sundstrom, Patrick Sundstrom.
Yeah,
Oh.
the young guy.
That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Or even Ferraro and Sundstrom, because Robitaille, I don't know if he wants to go back to LA.
I don't think it'd be good for them.
So fire Rogie and move Wayne.
Fire Rogie, and then things will fall into place. Like Wayne's stock is going down. Mind you, he got a goal last night.
What's he worth, Dave? What's he worth per season to an NHL team right now?
Well, not much, but in New York he's a big drawing card, and just the hype would be good, and they got the money to handle it, you know. But LA makes me cry, you know. They're my team and they suck.
Well,
Okay,
thanks
Dave.
for the call, Dave. We'll see you. Who
Thanks
else?
for the call.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Bye now.
Bye.
After this guy.
Go ahead, Jim. You're on.
Jim? Did we get him?
We lose you, Jim?
Who's this?
Darren.
Is this Jim?
No, this is Darren.
Darren,
All right,
go ahead. You're
Darren.
on the Two Sports Guys.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Great.
Good.
Long time no talk.
All right.
All right.
What have you got for
Talk
us
to
tonight?
us.
Well, I don't know. You guys got too many issues here. I think I want to talk about real quickly. If I was the GM of Kings, I'd get rid of Gretzky and get a lot of that young talent back I got rid of a few years ago to try and build a Stanley Cup team.
Who's going to give it to you?
Any players out there that you think they could be interested in?
Well, I can't see Rangers giving up
Robitaille, Sundstrom, Ferraro. I just can't see him giving up that kind of talent on a team like that that's going for a cup. Going to give up Gretzky, or you're going to get Gretzky a $10 million contract and lose a lot of scoring punch up front. Can't see it.
That seems to be the problem. It's not so much what they can trade. If it wasn't a money issue, I think they could probably get those players. But then they still have to pay him the $10 million. Messier is going to want that or more because he wants to be the top guy there.
Well, that's
becomes
his
a big
contract.
financial burden on the team.
Like Messier is one of the best players. Most, as far as I'm saying, he's one of the best. Maybe not the best scorer, but the best hockey player in the NHL. And if Gretzky's going for $10 million, hey, they're buddies. I mean, he's not going to say, well, I'm better than him for $10 million. But if they were to take that trade and, let's say, gave up some draft picks and go through the minor system,
but
go through there.
You think LA would go for that deal? You think that McMaster would just take draft picks? I mean, Edmonton's been doing it for years. Look where that's got them.
Yeah,
Hey, we beat LA last night.
They're building. That's going to be a strong team. Edmonton is coming on fire. I mean, they're not going to have the dynasty they had before, but they are. Like, there's a lot of young talent there.
Well, we got to move along a
Okay,
bit.
thanks for your call.
One thing about Hordell, can I say that real quickly?
Sure.
PA, the Raiders had him. Clarkey was up there with the Raiders, and they had Sandy Allen. Hordell was doing a lot of backing up, and I mean, for a team that was going to contention last year, Hordell's not a front runner, and I follow the Raiders quite a bit. And when it came down to the punch, the reason why they got rid of Hordell is he was hurt 4 days at the start of the year. I mean, maybe it was something that he had to deal with, like mentally, as far as preparation to get used to the team and stuff. But PA just didn't find it was there for their team. I mean, that's the kind of player that Hordell is, and he's not a front leader. And I mean, I hate to say it for Bassett, but they got a lot of young defense too. So
they were hoping for more, I think, out of him. Then so far, he had the injury. He's been 1-5 with a 5.6 goals against. Not the kind of numbers that I'm sure he would like to put up or that team would like to see.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Bye.
I'm not sure. We don't have a name up there, but let's go to it anyway. No? Okay, well, we got calls on the line.
Interesting calls there. We're getting some feedback on the Gretzky situation. I think the $10 million is holding everything back. I mean, he's at 8 right now.
Well, that's it.
Wayne wants to go to a contender, but yet he still wants to make the $10 million. So, I mean...
Gary Peters last week had a really good point. He said, why doesn't Wayne give back $4 million or so to the LA Kings and say, go buy what we need for a contender? Magic Johnson did it in his day. Some of the other basketball players did it because they're dealing with a salary cap.
Right.
There's no reason why, you can't have it both ways. And I hear them saying, well, what the LA Kings are doing to poor old Wayne Gretzky. Well, I don't think the LA Kings are doing it to Gretzky. I think Gretzky's doing it to himself.
He has brought a lot of attention onto himself.
And the team there is the team that he basically asked for in the first place, all his old buddies.
He wanted Robitaille out of there as it was.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dean, you're on.
Hey guys, how's it going tonight?
Good. Hey. How you doing, shot put champ?
I'm doing okay.
You're outdoor. Dean, are you hurt?
Yeah, I'm hurt right now.
You're out. You're not even going to the CIAUs?
No, not this year.
Well, that's too bad. Tough break.
Anyway, I've got a comment for you guys. It's a little off this Wayne Gretzky thing.
Sure.
Okay.
Who do you guys think was the best defenseman ever to play the game?
The best defenseman?
Yep.
I've got to go with Bobby Orr.
You're going with Bobby?
I'm going with Bobby.
He probably, as far as revolutionizing the game, you'd have to go with Bobby. Paul Coffey has been an outstanding defenseman, scoring-wise, speed-wise. He's probably done as much for defensemen in this era as Bobby Orr did in his generation. So I'd have to say Paul Coffey be right up there.
How about yourself?
I have to go with Bobby Orr myself. I think he had a little more finesse and a little more style than Paul Coffey.
What about Ray Bourque?
I think Ray Bourque's a good defenseman, but I just don't think he has the flair. He gets the job done, but that's about it.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Dean.
You bet.
I don't think we have anybody online, too. We do have some calls coming, so keep trying if you're trying to get through.
665-3787 is the number.
Hi, you're on Two Sports, guys.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Great.
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. First of all, I've got to recommend you with Paul Coffey because he is the best player.
Okay, you must be. Are you a Wing fan?
Oh, yes. #1 fan.
Well, I think people tend to look at his defensive deficiencies, but when the guy's got the puck and when they're scoring all those goals...
Well, he's smooth. He is smooth. But that would be the difference between my picking Coffey or would be the defensive part of it. I felt was a little bit better at that end of it.
What do you think the Wings' chances are?
This year, I think they're going all the way.
You do?
Yes, I do.
We've had some concerns from callers about their toughness and about their aggressiveness down the stretch.
Right.
Is that going to be a problem?
No.
No,
problem at all.
You're not worried, eh?
I got a comment, too, about the Blades.
Okay.
The reason why they're losing so much is because they need some fans out there. Like, I was at the last game there, and like there was only 3,000. Like, they need more than that. They need support.
Well, now, just a minute. They have the best average attendance in the East. They're getting really good support. The number there, although, as you said, that number wasn't at the rink, but they had an attendance of about 3,500. They're doing very well in that. The Blades are making good money, and it's not necessarily this, like, I mean, how many times you want to go and watch the kind of hockey the Blades are playing? I mean, you've got to, when you're charging money, you know, the entertainment value has to be there as well. I mean, this community's been very good standing behind local players.
I think
and
it's
teams,
also the fact that even when you get 3,000 in South Place, it does seem quiet in there.
Well, that's true too.
You know, it's a big facility. It's more accustomed, or would be better off with 6,000 or 7,000 because then at least you'd hear some people. But I watched the clip from the game the other night there and on Shaw Cable, and it was very quiet in the building, and I think.
But the game was emotionless. The player, like, I didn't see a Blades team fighting.
Maybe that's kind of a result of the play.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Not sure where we are now.
Go ahead, TJ. You're on.
How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing fine.
Good. Glad to hear it. Just a little comment on the Sam McMaster deal. If I was Sam McMaster, you got to pull the trigger on that trade. Right now, LA's struggling big time. Everybody's pointing fingers. Oh, it's Wayne's fault. It's McMaster's fault. Now they're pointing a finger at Larry Robinson, saying everything's falling apart there. They got to do something about this. They got to trade him, I think.
It's gotten out of hand, hasn't it? I mean, it seems to be distracting the team.
It's ridiculous, you know, and I'm a little disappointed with Wayne too about, you know, he's like demanding the big bucks from just about everybody now, and like he's got enough money out of hockey, you know, like I know he's been a great, you know, ambassador for the sport and everything like that, but I think it's time that he goes and plays somewhere else. And
he wants to go to a contender.
Well, I got just the trade for him here then.
All right, what is it?
Bring it on.
You got to send him to the Leafs.
What are the Leafs? What can the Leafs possibly give LA?
There's so many guys that could give them. Here's the deal.
Okay, they've got some old chumps they could probably throw in on that trade.
Exactly. They sent Wayne to the Leafs for Andrew Chump, Mike Craig, Todd Warner, Bill Berg, and Ken Baumgartner.
I don't know if LA wants that.
So they get a.
You sound like a Leaf fan. Are you a Leaf fan? You're a big Leaf fan.
Yeah.
That's right too.
Exactly. But I think Wayne wants out of there. He said before he'd like to finish his career, you know, close to like Toronto or Detroit, because that's where Walter is and that kind of thing. But I'd like to see him get out of there. It's not doing LA any good right now, and it'd be nice to see that trade be done.
And the Leafs could use a little bit of a jump start right now, couldn't they?
They're struggling, but they'll be okay.
I saw them play Detroit on the weekend there. They were hacking and pushing, and
it was a good game, though.
Oh, but they played like a bunch of hacks.
Maybe that's the way they play.
They must have heard this show about how you beat the Red Wings by being aggressive, because they were all over them.
Well, they're playing him tonight, too, so.
We'll see how they do.
We'll see what happens. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay,
thanks, TJ. Go ahead, Jim, you're on.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, what do you guys think about the Blades? Like, it just seems like they got no winning attitude or anything. I don't know. I just can't. I have a hard time supporting them now.
Did you hear the beginning of the show?
What's that?
Did you hear the bebeginning of our show?
No, I just turned it on here.
Yeah,
that's too bad, because
talking about that.
I went at it pretty good, and I don't.
Have you been a fan for a while, Jim?
What's that?
Have you been a Blade fan for a while?
Yeah, a little while, and it just feels like the media or the journalists in town here are so scared to get on top of the Blades. I don't know why.
You got that right. That's exactly my feeling, and that's why.
Hear anything about Luby there, what he's doing, and it just seems like he's making some bad trades, and I think it's time for a change, you know.
Well, they didn't make any real trades this year other than Hordell.
Not this year, but like last year, the year before, you know.
They gave away about 5 kids there for that deal with Sorokin, and that didn't pan out in terms of the Blades winning.
And like that kid that was playing in that CHL prospects game.
Right.
He played in the contacts, and he was like one of the stars of the game. Here he's playing with Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No.
The
other thing that the Blades
have never really gone after the local guy. There's always maybe the token 1 or 2 guys. I think Butchkowski and would be Sarich this year. Yeah. It's pretty much all that they have from local. They've tended to go outside of the city and bring in players from around the province and from around Alberta and Manitoba. But
The other thing they didn't do is they didn't declare themselves this year. At the beginning of the year, they said this might be a rebuilding year. Well, they didn't rebuild, and they're not going to win.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so what's the hope for the fans next year when you lose DL and Bantam?
But look at Kamloops. You know, look how many Memorial Cups they got. I think we deserve Saskatoon here. How long has the Blades been here? You know,
30 years and nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Closest we came was when we hosted it.
And that's the only reason we got in is we were the host.
Look at some of the other cities like Calgary and all that. If they don't get a Stanley Cup in 5 years and 5 years there in between Stanley Cups, and they're doing so many trades.
Well, you got to wonder about the management of the Blades for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just.
I think it starts there.
I think it's our city too. I think we're not on top of them, and we're kind of satisfied with subpar performance.
Okay. Well, thanks for your opinion,
Thanks
Jim.
for your call.
Thanks a lot.
We got Bob on line 2. Go ahead, Bob.
Good evening, guys.
How you
Good
doing
evening,
tonight?
Bob.
Good. I got a little comment about the Wayne Gretzky trade.
Okay.
I was just thinking here, how can you warrant $10 million for 100 points a season? I don't care who you are. Wayne Gretzky is the best hockey player that ever played the game. There's no question about that. But he's also going to be the demise of National Hockey League. Right now, you cannot go to a game and take your family with you. You can hardly afford to go yourself. I think it's probably time that Wayne came off his high horse.
Well, I agree with you partly on that, but I put the blame on the escalating salaries on St. Louis's back. They started that whole mess with Scott Stevens when they offered him $1 million and got him away from Washington. Then the next year they did the same thing with Shanahan, although they lost Stevens in because they were being greedy and so on. St. Louis offered McSorley $4 million for 2 years. That's not a $2 million defenseman. They had a match to keep him. They traded him with Pittsburgh back and forth.
Well, there's been lots of signings
and then
that
it just
have been for big
escalated.
money. And it has escalated. You think the National Hockey League's headed for demise, Bob? That's quite a statement.
Well, I got a feeling that they're just going to price themselves right out of the market. People aren't going to come and see the games, and if the fans aren't going to pay the money to see the games, then obviously you can't pay the players.
So what's Gretzky worth as a player, let's say, next season in the National Hockey League?
For all he's done, he's probably worth about $5 or $6 million, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, too much for a 100-point player. But I mean, what he's done over the course of the years, and what Mario is making, and some of the other elite players are making at the time, he's probably worth that. But as far as that goes, no player is worth any more than $2 million for a season, and that means going back to $30 ticket prices and $1 hot dogs and 50-cent drinks.
All right. Well, interesting call, Bob.
That's certainly. I agree with the fact they price themselves out of the market. You can't take a family. You can't buy season tickets for your family.
How many Canadian teams do we have to lose before the NHL sees this? Or even American teams. There's already teams like Florida and places that aren't going to be able to do
Hartford.
it. Florida has a winning team.
Maybe it's time for a Canadian League, Bob. What do you think of that?
Go for it, Roy.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call.
All right.
And we've got the break ready right now, so we'll go to that. This week's break is about the Daytona 500. So for all of you car buffs, have a look. We'll be right back. Gentlemen, start your engines. And with that, we see the fly pass and pit row as the Daytona 500 is about to get underway. The cars head out onto the pace lap, and we'll get a look at it here from inside Dale Jarrett's car. Now, he won this race in '93. Also a look at Bill Elliott inside his car. And the race is underway, and this particular lap they're doing 188 miles an hour. And you get a good look at it down here from track level. Once they're traveling 188 miles, you see how tightly jammed in they are, and when you're that tightly packed in, accidents happen. Here Jeremy Mayfield clips the back end of Jeff Gordon, and he fights hard to keep it on the track, bringing it down to the inside. Now that does cause a chain reaction, however, as Steve Grissom in number 29 loses control and is tagged here by Joe Nemechek. Rusty Wallace and Rick Mast slide through here in the middle as they also lose control. Have another look at this from inside Jeff Gordon's car. You can see him hit the wall here. And now he's fighting to hang on to control of his car as the rest of them speed by. Another hazard he also has, his car starts to fill up with smoke, so that makes seeing the track that much more difficult. Another accident happened here with John Andretti getting clipped by Michael Waltrip. He goes into the wall and is definitely out of the race. We're coming to the end of the race here with Dale Jarrett trying to hold off Dale Earnhardt. He tries to go inside, outside, can't find a spot, trying to get by Dale Jarrett, but he can't make it. And Dale Jarrett wins his second Daytona 500. We're back, and just to show you that we're not just a one-sport show, we threw in the Daytona 500. Interesting to note there, Ernie Irvin, who just about died in '94, about September '94, was given a 10% chance of living coming out of that horrendous crash back in October. He raced again for the first time. It was only a year later. He was in that race, came 35th. Unbelievable, just unbelievable.
It is.
It's unbelievable
I mean,
he's alive.
Well, I mean, the fact that, the speeds that they're traveling, one split-second mistake can cost you your life. So, I mean, these guys under enormous pressure, you get a bit of it when you can see from the cockpit, but actually just driving it and experience 200 miles an hour.
And you're bumper to bumper.
Bumper to bumper. This is not driving to Sass Place here. This is heavy duty.
It might be driving in Sass in the parking lot out there, but
exactly, yeah.
At 188 miles though.
All right.
Okay, well, let's get to the lines. We've got a bunch of calls.
Go ahead, Angus. You're on.
Hi there, Wayne.
Hi.
Right. Just got a comment on what do you think about the Raiders' chances of going all the way this year?
Personally, I like the Raiders' chances of going all the way. They're 7-0-3 since they made that trade, Vopat and Brown, and they're starting to fit in. Looks like they're picking up lots of wins and lots of momentum heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, but Vopat there, he's kind of a bit of a disappointment. Not as big gun as he should be after playing in the NHL and all of it. Once he starts to pick it up, I think the Raiders could win the Memorial Cup and everything. What do you think?
Well, I think they're in a situation. I was lucky enough to be a part of a Memorial Cup team in '85, and now again, 11 years later, this team looks like they could be the next contending PA Raider team to go for the Cup. They've had a couple teams since then, always fell short. So hopefully they can get the monkey off their backs. Great to see some crowds out there this year in PA because they have had some tough times, and now looks like they're loading right up.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
We got Kid on line 3.
Go ahead, Kid. You're on.
Howdy, guys. What do you think of that Brian Cox? How do you think of him starting with Chicago?
Well, I think Chicago's bought themselves a bit of a problem. Obviously, Cox doesn't seem to. He walks to his own drummer, and I don't know. I don't know how much he's going to help Chicago. What do you think?
I think he's the perfect guy to fill that linebacking core. They got Vincent Smith and Joe Kane. Now they got Cox. Oh, I'm worried about Miami, though. They've got the heart of their defense is gone. Who is Jimmy Johnson going to pick up now for that?
Well, Jimmy Johnson walks on water, so I'm sure he's got something planned. But I don't know. Cox, like I say, I don't know if Chicago's going to be able to control him. I mean, you can't control him, but I mean, at least get him to play as part of the team. Like, he did some really goofy things that cost Miami in some key situations, too, although he's a very good player. So
I think Wanstead can speak to the guy. He was a defensive coordinator with Dallas.
Could be.
You know, that's his line, and I think
be.
Cox is going to be great with Chicago, and he might be the player who really puts more of the edge.
Yeah, I don't think...
He's really had a season here, but...
No, that's okay.
Hey, no, that's great. I think Johnson... I think Johnson is going to have trouble in Miami right off the bat, as you say, on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's a fair assessment.
But he's won, wherever he's gone, so I'm sure whatever pieces he needs to put together, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the call. We got Ace. Go ahead, Ace.
Yeah, just a couple questions. The Sports Unlimited coverage on Wednesdays isn't that good, so I was wondering, any of you guys know anything about the Wild Goose Hawk League? What's going on out there?
Oh, that's a loaded question, man. All right, go ahead, Roy.
What particular playoff series would you like me to comment on?
The Sports Unlimited isn't very good, so I'm just wondering who's alive there. Kinnersley still kicking around?
Kinnersley doesn't have much left. No, they've been knocked out of League and B, I believe. The Crawford Tigers, mind you, have been playing pretty well lately.
I hear they got a hot goaltender.
I don't think it's so much the goaltending. It's a great team out there in Crawford. They won against QPAR last weekend. A lot of ex-Regina Cougars, university players, playing for QPAR. They're heading back this weekend. We're playing them again in the best of 3 AAA final. Interestingly enough, Unity is hosting the Allen Cup this year. Very prestigious tournament, and this AAA championship goes a long way towards that.
You think Unity might be around the playoffs there later on, or how are they going? Who are they playing right now?
Unity's down against Lloyd 3-1. They lost the first game. They're going back to play again in that best of 3. Unity's in already. They're hosting, so they're already there. Unity's also close to advancing to the league final against us. So we'll probably see Unity Crawford again. So there'll be some good crowds out in the Goose for that.
Okay, thanks for the update, fellas.
Thanks a lot.
Hi, Ron. You're on.
Hello. Just wanted to touch on that LA Kings situation a little bit there.
Okay.
How LA? How do they even expect to be a 500 hockey team when you got guys like Barry Potomsky, Gary Shuchuk, Dan Bilsma? You got a Yuri Curry that's 2 days older than dirt. You know. You got a Kevin Stevens who, ever since he got his face messed up a few years ago, he could go in the corner with Stu Grimson and a dozen eggs and come out and, the eggs wouldn't even be scrambled.
You're starting to sound like Ballard.
Yeah, like, best thing for L.A. to do would be trade Gretzky for a Cliff Fletcher and about 3 Mike Gartners.
Are you an L.A. fan?
I have been a Wayne Gretzky fan for probably 10 years. And, I followed him from Edmonton, and, I've got nothing but respect for the guy, but...
He wants to win. I mean, I think his salary is the problem, but he wants to win, and he's made that known. And he's basically said to management, what have you guys been doing, and what are you going to do to try and get this team?
Well, that's the thing. They bring in a Robert Long, maybe 3 years ago. I mean, that guy was supposed to be the next best thing since sliced bread, and I mean, he's got 0 power play goals this year. I mean, something just doesn't wash there.
Well, granted, they did lose Rob Blake, and that really hurt their defensive core.
Like I'm just looking at the hockey news here. I got their open to the stats page in their farm team, and I'm just looking at some of the guys they got in the farm there. I mean, they got a Nick Vachon, who's Rogie's son. I mean, they've got Oleg Shagradotsky.
So you don't think there's much coming up through the ranks either?
Not at all. I mean, Kelly Rudy and Byron Defoe can only do so much.
Yeah. No, it's not a goaltending situation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That seems to be my theme for the night anyway.
Okay, so who do you think they could get for Wayne, and what would help?
I'd like to see maybe Wayne going into Chicago for maybe a Roenick, maybe a Steve Smith, a Keith Carney.
Chicago has no interest in him.
No?
Not at all.
Well, that's what Pulford said. He said they have no interest. First of all, they can't afford his salary, and secondly, they can't afford what his salary would do to their salary structure with all the other stars wanting to fit in accordingly.
Yeah, but
there has been some discontent with Roenick. They've always talked about trading him. So if anybody were to go,
in any league, never doesn't mean never.
Well, that's the thing.
Exactly.
Like the way some of the Neil Smith wasn't ever trading for Messier, and he ended up getting him.
That's right.
They always deny it right before it happens. So
Yeah.
thanks for the call.
Got to move along. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Go ahead, Rob. You're on the Two Sports Guys.
How the fellas doing tonight?
We're doing
Good.
fine.
How are you?
Still talking Gretzky trade?
Oh,
Sure
sure.
are.
Good enough. How about this? Wayne goes off to the Rangers with a second-round draft pick. In return, the Kings get Peter Ferraro and Luke Robitaille. About 7 days after that, the Kings turn around and trade Marty McSorley and Yari Curry to the Colorado Avalanche for Mike Ricci and that second-round draft pick.
Well, Ricci could move out of Colorado because he's been a dud there this year. They had expected big things out of him.
Right.
So you had McSorley going to Colorado as well?
Oh, you bet.
I think McSorley's going, and I'll tell you why I think McSorley's going. Zmolik and Churla. They trade for them. They bring them to town.
They've got some toughness. McSorley's role really isn't so much that anymore. I mean, they've got those other guys that can do that,
toughness.
like you said.
McSorley's more of a leader now.
But so you're saying you're not Ray Ferraro. You think Peter Ferraro?
Why would you take Ray Ferraro, a career third-line 20-goal man?
Oh, I don't know about career 20-goal man. He's had some pretty good seasons.
Oh, with the Islanders, he was their number one centerman and didn't do a whole lot. He comes to the Rangers where he plays third line. He's now facing third-line centers on a nightly basis and starts to score some goals. He's 30-some years old. Yeah. Ray Ferraro, what's he, about 5'8"? Small forwards in L.A., like, what do they got now? They got Pro.
Yannick Pro.
They got Granato. They do not need another tiny forward in L.A.
No, they do have some small guys, definitely. So you think Peter Ferraro, he's not very big.
Oh, he's a more of a solid hockey player. He's more of a bump and grinder kind of guy than Ray Ferraro is.
Do you think Luke Robitaille would play in L.A. again?
I don't know. I'm not even that fond of Lucky Luke, but maybe they can move him. Like for a 50-goal man, Luke Robitaille just doesn't seem like that kind of a good hockey player to me.
So you think this trade's going to happen? You think they're going to move him?
Next 2 weeks. If that doesn't happen, you can expect probably to see Jeremy Roenick out in L.A.
Well, thanks for the
Wow,
call.
okay, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Dustin.
No, it's Dallas.
Dallas. Go ahead, Dallas.
I'm calling in regards to Jim, who phoned in earlier about the Blades, and he said he can hardly call himself a fan anymore.
Right.
Well, I just want to say that they made a bad trade last year. It didn't pay off for them, but they've had some winning success over the past few seasons. They haven't gone all the way. The fans here are just critics. They don't go out to the game to cheer. They go out and complain all the time. They're going through a rough year. I think the media, you said something about the media getting on them. Why would they do that? I mean, one bad year, if you had a bad time, you wouldn't want anybody jumping all over your back. So
yeah, but they haven't won in 30 years.
yeah, well, they just haven't had very good luck. I mean, I go out there and cheer for them all the time.
Well, and we're glad you do. I mean, we're not knocking people who cheer for him, certainly, and neither was Jim. He just said he was getting a little bit tired and a little bit disappointed and going out watching pretty much the same result over and over again. They had good results 2 years ago, well, 2 out of the 3 years before that, with lunch bucket, good, hard-nosed, team hockey.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years, they got away from that.
Well, you see comments about Lube and Nicky all the time. I mean, I think you have to look at your scouting staff, your head scouts.
But who hires those? Who hires them?
He's at every home game, though. Ron Meyer's the head scouts at every home game. He should be out in Warman and Davidson watching these kids.
But doesn't Luby hire those guys?
Well, yeah,
Don't they work for him?
Luby's department, but I mean, everybody jumps on them all the way. I think you should just let them have their rough year. Don Clark's a good coach. I think he's going to weed out, like he did in Prince Albert, who is going to play for him and who isn't. And
what's going to happen next year? They don't have DL and Bantam. They haven't developed anything this year. What's going to happen next year?
Well, they're going to have to go through a rebuilding year where they have a lot of young players, and I mean, we're just going to have to be patient. But I think some of these young guys, like the Cousins and Smiths and Sariches, are all going to be very good hockey players, but they need some time to develop. We need to have some time to develop young talent and bring in some new talent. I think they're great at picking defensemen and goaltenders. I think Bath is going to stand on his head next year. He's played excellent.
I agree with that.
It's just going to take some time.
Well,
okay.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
You're on, Dustin. Sorry about the wait, buddy.
That's all right. I got a basketball question for you.
Sounds good.
Hey, I was wondering what you thought about the trade between Minnesota and Atlanta today.
Didn't hear it. What is it?
The Timberwolves traded Leitner and Sean Rooks for Andrew Lang and Spud Webb.
Well, I don't know. I think Minnesota's got a huge problem anyway. I don't know if they can do a heck of a lot to improve their lot anyway. Are you a Minnesota fan?
Not really. I like Leitner, though.
Yeah, so do you figure he's in a better spot then?
Yeah, Atlanta should be a competitor. They're a hot team right now, but I think Minnesota should have got someone better for Leitner.
Well, that's the trouble, eh? When you're a team that's at the bottom of the pack playing poorly, everybody wants to pick your bones.
Yeah.
So, well, if you're a Leitner fan, you got to be happy for him, and I'm sure he's in a better situation anyway.
Yep.
Thanks for your
Dustin.
call.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Go ahead, Corey. You're on the Two Sports guys. Corey, not with us. Okay.
No, maybe he was on one of those cell phones. I heard So I'm not sure. We have any
Interesting call. Blade. Blade information.
Yep.
We're getting that tonight.
That's good. That's good.
Something a little different. The Blades, like the guy was saying, you got to be patient with some of these teams and some of these players. And I understand what you're saying.
I've had my go around. I'm not going to.
You've had your go around on that, and I see your point on that. I think the other night when they're playing Brandon, they're trying to win the game. I mean, this is not October anymore.
Well,
they have to win the game, so they're going to go with their best players.
I know, but then today they say we've got to develop another line. Anyway, what about some of these other hockey stories? Roy gets his 300th.
Patrick Roy, second youngest player, goaltender ever to get 300 wins. Terry Sawchuk did it
3 months earlier than he did, or something like that.
Something like that. But Patrick Roy, I mean, we've talked about him on the show, and I mean, look for him in the playoffs, like you said. But great
We'll
career.
see. We'll have to see when he gets there. Alan Bester. I feel disappointed for Alan Bester. I know you called it, and it was a logical call, but I feel disappointed for Alan Bester. He's down in the eye again after coming up and doing a really good job with that.
Well, he started off 4-1-1, and then the wheels kind of fell off. He was playing a bit on emotion.
Is it him or is it the team?
It doesn't matter.
This is my theme for the night, right?
He got to win some games, and he had done that early.
Do you not think he could not help some team in the NHL? Do you really think he's a career IHL player now?
There's probably some teams out there that could use his help, yeah, but night after night, is he going to be the guy? And he's going to demand a fairly big salary. I think they take that into consideration. Hard to say. He only had 10 games. He had a bit of success, but hard to say down the stretch how good he could be.
Yeah, well, we got, who we got on the phone?
Dave,
line?
go ahead.
Dave.
You're on the Two Sports Guys.
Hey, what kind of socks are you guys wearing?
What do you got for us, Dave?
I just want to know, hey, do you think skateboarding should be a professional sport?
It already is. They're already making big bucks.
I think we as skaters, we're getting dissed by the community and all the people in like City Hall and that.
So you're upset about not being able to skate around City Hall, eh?
Yeah, man, they suck.
Well, thanks for your call, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Rex is online too. Or is he?
I think I lost Rex.
Did we lose Rex? Well, who have we got here?
Corey.
Hi, Corey. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I had a question about the hockey card conventions.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering why none of the hockey players ever come to sign autographs and stuff.
Well, you know, if you're talking NHL players, they're right in the middle of their season right now, so it's pretty tough for them to take a couple nights off and go sign some autographs. They're pretty busy during the season. I think in the off season, it's a lot better chance for that happening.
What about the older players, the retired ones?
Well, I don't know. Part of the problem I think with these card signings now is that when you go to them, you have to pay for their autograph, and I think a lot of people have been turned off with that. And I'm not sure. I don't know. Is the demand is great?
Would you pay? Would you pay to go get some autographs signed?
Well, it depends how much it would be, how much it would cost.
Okay, well, interesting call. We'll see if we get any more interest on that in the next few shows.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we've reached that time of the night.
Can we cut Rex off?
Oh,
can we get Rex
Can
on?
we get Rex? Is Rex there?
Hopefully.
Rex, are you there?
Yeah.
Sorry, Rex. Sorry about that, Rex.
I just listened to C95, and you wouldn't believe it. The trade's through. Gretzky's trade's through.
Who for?
Gretzky to Detroit, Vladislav Kozlov, Vernon, and Primo. And going to Detroit's Gretzky and Rudy, and a first-round draft pick. Unbelievable.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that, Rex? Are you giving us the
Are you
gear?
taking the Salmon Master thing a little too far, I think?
Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. I think you're playing with us.
No, turn on the radio.
Okay.
Gretzky and Rudy.
All right, Gretzky,
Primo,
Rudy,
Kozlov, and Vernon.
Rudy first round for Kozlov, Primo, and Vernon. Unbelievable.
So are you an LA fan or a Detroit fan?
I actually like the Ducks.
The Ducks.
So basically, we got two goalies swapping, Rudy for Vernon, and then we've got Primo and Kozlov for Gretzky, basically.
Did you say there was a draft choice there, too?
First rounder, yeah.
First rounder to LA?
Yeah, no, to Detroit.
First rounder to Detroit.
Okay. No, to LA.
Well, thanks for the call. We're
Wow, thanks
running
for the information, buddy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It sure is.
Well, we're running.
Wow, we're live on TV. That's what you get with live TV.
Right. Well, we're running out of time. We'll definitely, obviously, we're going to have lots to say about that next week.
If Rex is on par here, we'll have to check with our sources here.
We'll have to check with our sources there. Amanda over here is smiling, so we're not sure. But anyway, we're at the opinion of the week.
That time of the week, we get to our opinions of the week. My Alfie is going to go out to Mike Pringle's agent this week. With the demise of the CFL in the States, Harold Daniels has tried to get Mike Pringle onto an NFL team. Looks like he's going to do that. But his comment to the CFL was, we're going to probably make more money next year in the NFL, probably 4 times as much as the jokers in the CFL. Well, those jokers just paid him $100,000 over the last 2 years, allowed him to make some rushing statistics to get him in the position to make the 4 times. So I think he should be careful in what he says. My Alfie goes to Harold Daniels, Mike Pringle's agent.
That's a good one. I saw that too. Well, my Alfie has already been played out. I'm going to give it to Blades management and coaching. I feel, as you've obviously already heard, that the problem with the Blades isn't goaltending, although, as we've mentioned, there has been the odd soft goal, but that's not their key problem. I think just the way the team has been managed and to some degree coached, but more of a management situation. So I'm going to throw my Alfie that way for tonight.
Okay, and on the Gordy side of it, the sportsman and good story of the week for me has been a former coach of mine's son, Bill Seymour's son, former Husky coach Dean Seymour, playing down in Northern Michigan University, had a 4-point weekend last weekend, became their Wildcat Player of the Week. He leads that team in goals, assists, and points. He got stuck on a NCAA team that wasn't very strong offensively. He's had to play through that, and my Gordy goes out to him because he's on a bad team, but he's still playing pretty well. Saskatoon kid.
And my Gordy goes to another Saskatoon athlete, Katrina Lemay-Doan, who won the 500 meters in speed skating, the gold medal, world champion. She's a world champion. Now, anytime you're a world champion, I don't care what it is, that's fantastic. And speed skating takes a tremendous amount of endurance and training, and you have to stay with it. It's a very difficult sport. She's placed 5 times. She's placed second, had a silver medal in this year. So she's been battling the Russian all year long. And in this particular race, the World Championship, she's won it. So hats off to Katrina Lemay-Doan from Saskatoon, world champion speed skater.
So I guess that's another show wrapped up.
Another show.
Sure, time sure flies when we're having fun here. Lots of calls. Unbelievable. If Gretzky actually did go to Detroit, does Detroit now have the chance to win their first Stanley Cup in
well, we'll see
30
about
years,
that.
I believe.
Yeah.
It's been a while
like
since
I say,
Detroit.
we'll have a week to think about that anyway,
Yep.
and get your opinions about it as well. Obviously, there'll be lots of calls next week, and we're glad that you're calling in. We had lots of calls, couldn't get to them all tonight again.
Hopefully people stuck around and didn't blow off the two sports guys for the Toronto Maple Leaf game. I mean, you see them every third night on TSN
Well,
as it is, so you probably didn't miss very much.
No, that Toronto Sports Network, you know, they got to get those Toronto.
But enjoy the Friends show tonight and Seinfeld and whatnot. And thanks for tuning in. It's been great having you out on the show tonight. We've had lots of calls and lots of response, so that's excellent.
Well, I guess we got a little bit of time here. We hustled through our Alfies and our Gordies tonight, so we should mention maybe a few things. Sherry Sherrick having a good run.
We got a picture of her up in the paper
picture
there.
Right up there.
She's been 8-1 now, I believe. Just beat. She
was at 7-2 going into today.
7-2
going into today.
Okay, so then they beat Canada, came back and beat Laliberti, and but she lost her second game of the day.
Yeah, so I'm not just sure what happened today because we're on here now and we're not able to catch the news. But she looked, boy, I saw her play against Ontario. Some great shot making. That was a heck of a game. Ontario made some great shots as well, and if they get into 1-2 in the finals, as it looks like is a good shot at it, depending on today's outcome. There's going to be that's some great curling, some really good curling.
Good luck to her.
Good
By
luck
the next show, we'll have found out what happened at the Scott Tournament.
We'll have probably have a little bit of video on it as well. And the Riders, well, they're looking at signing some players. Their whole salary thing was in the paper.
They're close. They're fiscally responsible. They're fairly close to what their budget allowed them, and they're going to try and re-sign some players. Hopefully not Tom Burgess.
I hope they keep talking about needing a running back. They need a blocking back, so the running back has somewhere to run, and they keep forgetting that end of it. Anyway, we are now at the end of the night, and we want to thank you for calling in. And as we say, we're live here every Thursday night at 6. And if you happen to miss us live, we're on tape replay Friday at 7 and Saturday at 8. For the two sports guys, Roydon Gunn and myself, I'm Wayne Hazell saying good night from the two sports guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. We're glad you could make it tonight down here in our rec room where we are live every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I'm one of the sports guys, Wayne Hazell.
And I'm Roydon Gunn, the other one of the two sports guys. We're here coming at you, like you said, Wayne, from our rec room at Shaw Cable Studios. And we're having a good time here with the show. We're enjoying all the calls that we're getting. Last week we had the Gretzky thing.
Yep.
This week I'm sure we're going to get some more of that. We've got some clips on that. We would like to welcome you again to the show, and all your phone calls and opinions and comments are more than welcome on the show this week.
That's right. We want to remind you once again, every week we get more calls than we can handle. So your best chance of getting on the show is to phone early, not leave it till late, and the number is 665-3787. And we're willing to talk about anything this week, not just the Gretzky trade. We want to talk about lots of stuff, and so feel free to call in.
Yeah, and feel free to call in about the Jets this week. They're having a good week. Any Leaf fans out there, sorry about last night. You know, Habby Boulin was hot. Olchek with 3 points. Jamnoff with 3 again. So the Jets have coming around. So we got the Jet jersey up here tonight. Our set's looking a little better. We're coming along. We've got a few more sports items up there tonight, so hope you enjoy that. And good week in sports.
Well, yeah, and we always like to start locally, and we've got some snippets this week. Last week we talked more in depth with some of the issues we had. This week we've got like I say, several, and the first one we'd like to maybe just mention is that the Contacts and the Blazers, AAA midget hockey, going full bore into the playoffs now.
Well, Jim Fleming and the Contacts, Fleming's been there now 5 years. They didn't have a great regular season, but the playoffs are a different story. There's always an upset, especially at the midget level. So they're going into Battleford. They got a great team up in Battleford, midget AAA team. It's going to be tough for them to come out of there with a win. The Blazers, on the other hand, with Ralph Clausen at the helm, they go against Notre Dame. Two teams fairly similar matched. Always tough to go down there to Notre Dame. I believe the Blazers got to play there first and then come back home. But always tough to go down to Notre Dame. I remember going down there and, we got stuff flying off the set here.
Oh,
live TV.
Live TV.
But tough to go down into Notre Dame. So if the Blazers can sneak one out there, I think come back home and hopefully advance to the next round.
Well, and it's best of 3, so anything can happen in a best of 3 as well, and they're only 1 point apart. Another thing that was in the paper just recently is his name's Curtis Linnell. I had to look that up. With the track, Marcus Downs track, he's leaving. He was managing the racing end of it there, and he said that this province is too small for 2 tracks. He thinks that they should shut one or the other, Regina or Saskatoon. That's an interesting comment.
Yeah, maybe we'll get our friend Gary Peters to phone up on that. I know he's with the Prairie Land Exhibition, so maybe we'll get a comment from him somewhere along the way. One other thing about going back to the Contacts there, they had the feature on Garrett Prasovsky, and his brother is playing. Tyler's playing out in Tacoma, I believe, and the younger Prasovsky is playing with the Contacts as a bantam-year-old. 15-year-old, he's playing in midget AAA, which is an outstanding feat in itself. The Blades are looking for him to step in next year and make a offensive contribution to that team. So congratulations to Prasovsky and the season he's had. He's getting a lot of notoriety.
Riders, always good for a few lines here or there, especially with this draft coming up. They would like to see Elgard come back. I don't know about that one.
Well, I mean, Elgard at the stage of his career, you're paying for the experience. $110,000 for a 54-catch guy. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the Riders do have some good Canadian slot backs, and Dan Farthing, and David Pitcher and Bruce Boyko, and they could probably go with some of those guys. Elgard could be expendable at that salary unless he's willing to take a pay cut.
Well, the thing that bothers me is you mentioned Boyko. I said last show, I wished and I hoped that the Riders would realize they need a blocking back, a strong blocking back. You look at Emmett Smith, for example, for the Cowboys. He goes nowhere really unless the Moose makes a hole for him. They've decided that Boyko is going to be their blocking back. Now it didn't work last year. He's too small. He's got the heart of a lion, but he's too small. He gets blown out of there. There's no hole. And Joseph, who's excited about coming back, and is good at running, but you've got to have a hole. I hope they change their mind on that one. I really do.
Well, they tried Elgard last year in that situation, and that didn't pan out. I mean, you put a guy like that in a position like that where he's never played before, I think it was basically a matter of, Ray Yock really didn't know what to do with him. He wanted to fit him into the offensive scheme somehow. They needed a blocking back, like you said, and tried Elgar. That didn't work. I don't know if Boyko is the answer, but Darren Joseph definitely needs to get some room running up through the middle.
And another interesting move they made, McCallum. Now, all this fuss, bringing in McCallum as a kicker and Dave Ridgway, that whole scenario. McCallum has now gone over to the World Football League, I believe, to kick, at least in London, to kick. And he's got a gentleman's agreement with the general manager, Ellen Ford, for the Riders, that he'll come back. Well, he could be picked up by anybody. I don't understand that move. I don't understand why they let this kid with the talent he's got walk out of camp on a gentleman's agreement, which could be changed in seconds.
Well, it's the CFL, and like some of my friends call it, the silly football league, and they do some silly things, and a gentleman's agreement is just that. Like he said, he could walk, but the Riders, on the other hand, haven't made a commitment to him because of the Ridgway situation. That situation will probably rectify itself before training camp, so they can either move Ridgway and allow McCallum to sign and bring him back, or they can let McCallum sign with somebody else and bring Ridgway back.
Well, I suppose we'll just kind of warn Ellen there in the booth that we'll go to this clip here. Might as well get this Gretzky thing out of the way early. And we want to remind everybody that we're live here, and if you phone 665-3787, you can give us your opinions on anything. We'll listen to anything and talk about anything, and as soon as that clip is ready to go, Ellen, just roll her.
In life, strange things happen, and this is one of them. And I'll miss my time in LA, and I had a lot of fun. But life moves on, and I truly hope that things work out for myself, and I hope things work out for the Kings. And I think they will. Yeah, it's difficult because, as I said, I love the players, and I love the city. And, coaches have been great to me. And it's always tough when you move.
We all feel that we've added a dimension now to our hockey team that we needed badly. We needed offense to be generated. We know we're going to get more offense. We certainly have a quality individual who's had the experience of winning the Stanley Cup on 4 different occasions, has been in the finals on other occasions, has won 3 Canada Cups.
The biggest question that was asked me the last couple of weeks is about the C. It's an honor for me to give it to the best player, I think, in the world. And I'm just looking forward to him getting here and making a run for the Stanley Cup.
You can turn that around.
Obviously, there's a lot of good teams in this league, but looking at this organization and Michael's leadership, they're as competitive as any team in this league, and I'm darn excited about being here. I told him today I feel like a young kid and nervous, and I'm excited, and I'm thrilled and honored.
Well, there you have it. As we say, we might as well get that one over with quickly, but we've got a caller on the line who's phoning long distance, so we might as well get to him.
We better get Gord on here. Go ahead, Gord. You're on Two Sports Guys.
Gunner.
Gord Davidson from Unity, Saskatchewan.
Gunner, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Great. I suppose you've been bombarded with questions over this big trade, have you?
We're getting there.
Just started. You're the first one.
Is that right? I bet, eh? So how do you think this is going to solidify their chances in the playoffs, the Blues?
Well, I think it'll help them.
No doubt.
What do you think?
He'd help anybody, wouldn't he, Gunner?
Well, he'd help the miners, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, speaking from an old miner's viewpoint as yourself, Gunner. So, how are you guys making out there at Robert as far as the Allen Cup goes? I understand you're against Lloydminster Border Kings?
Yeah, we're going up against Lloyd. We took QPAR out 2 straight, so we're going up against Lloyd. I guess they had a tough team. Did you get a chance to see them?
No, I was away on some business when that happened.
Did you get down to Toronto, the Hall of Fame?
Gunner, we had a little misfortune. We lost one of our close family members, an uncle, and I had to cancel that trip.
Oh, that's too bad.
I was looking forward to seeing the Colt 45 sweater of yours truly hanging there in the shrine of hockey, but I just didn't make it.
I was hoping to hear about that myself. So what do you think about this Gretzky deal? You think that was you think they came out ahead, St. Louis?
Oh, I would think for the short term, yeah. So you got to give up some of the younger players in a first-round draft choice in '97, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's selling off some of your future, and but it might give them a run for the cup this year. But so you guys go against Lloyd, and then what happens, Gunner?
Well, down to War Road if we win that. So we'll go down to Minnesota if they come out of the Manitoba, Minnesota.
Right.
And then we'll see you back in Unity for the Allen Cup, April 8th.
I'll be there, don't worry.
You cheering for the Tigers?
Hey, Gunner, I'll tell you what, I got a fair amount bet on you boys against one of the Wilkie Outlaws.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for the call, Gord.
Won my share, a part of it anyway, and the rest is if you win that Wild Goose Cup.
Okay.
Take care and good luck. We'll see you after game some night.
Okay.
Get yourself.
Oh, thanks, Gord, for the call. Long distance there. We got our goose updated.
Yeah, that's right. We always get a goose update.
You gotta get the goose on. We'll go.
Langan here. Is that the Langan?
Yeah, how you guys doing? Wayne, you're looking sharp there tonight.
I don't know what that means, but thanks a lot.
You know, with this Gretzky thing going on, a lot of WWF information's been forgotten. What do you guys think about WrestleMania 12 and Owen Hart and Bret Hart? Their feud is just off outside of the ring, or you think that's in the ring too?
I think that's part of the show. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. You know, like Owen and Bret, they go pretty hard at it off out of the ring too. What do you guys think? You know?
Well, I don't know. I think it's all contrived, and I think WWF is basically a disservice to sports in general. I'm going to have to say that right now because I don't think there's any place for it myself. I don't watch it. I don't really think. I don't understand how you can pay money to see something like that.
Well, it's free on cable.
Well, it's free on cable, but there's 15,000 people that paid to see the show. I just don't see it. I mean, if they have, it's not a sport. It's planned. It's a
show.
It's a show.
Yeah, I just hope that feud's not outside of the ring too, because those guys are brothers, eh? And if that's out of the ring too, that's
I don't think it is. We had them.